everything fantasy football, you have to ask one question. Don't you deserve a fighting chance? And now, welcome to Fighting Chance Live with your hosts, Kevin Tompkins and Scott Fishbowl 9 winner, Gary Haddow.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Fighting Chance Live. I am Kevin Tompkins, of course, from FightingChanceFantasy.com. As always, my beautiful partner in crime, the one, the only Gary Haddow. Gary, my friend, how the Zimas flown this beautiful evening.
Zimas are flowing. They're doing fantastic. I love our intro, and it's the first time I've ever blushed a little bit and been like, ooh, maybe that was the wrong intro.
I was told by my agent that we were not going to mention this, so he is getting fired, and you will hear from my representation pretty fucking quickly.
I love it. And our awesome guest, we have Tommy Garrett from Pro Football Network. Tommy, my friend, how are you this evening?
I was doing great till about 5 seconds ago.
For anybody listening that doesn't know, Tommy and I literally went down to almost the very last play of the 2019 regular season. And I beat Tommy and Scott Fishbowl 9 by just about 5 points, literally on an Aaron Jones, like 4 or 5 yard rush that put over to get a bonus and whatnot. And just
it was the
because
last
some people know
play for the Packers that actually was 4 yards. Like
exactly.
Not a kneeling play. The final play for them was that 4 yard first down, and I got the 5 point bonus because apparently Minnesota Vikings decided to pack it in early after the halftime. Yeah. And go figure, this year, the game where Aaron Jones had his massive blow up, guess who is going against him in this year's Scott Fishbowl?
Ooh.
Love it.
Yeah. So,
That's
hey, if you ever have Aaron Jones, just let me know, and I'll tell you when I'm playing against him.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can sit here and moderate this if you guys just want to.
No. I think we're both on the terms with it. We're both good with it. I mean, it sucks. I mean, it was wild how it happened, but Tommy's
it was nuts.
amazing.
Yeah.
So.
I think the funniest part was like how people were like trying to congratulate me on Twitter. I was like, guys, the game's not over. Like y'all jinxed the hell out of me with that one. Don't get me wrong. I kind of thought it was good too. And like all of a sudden, like Aaron Jones broke off that big run. It got to within like 6 points. When I was like, oh, this is not looking good, like at all.
Yeah,
it was definitely a whole different view here.
Yeah.
I was actually wrapping presents that night, because it was like December 23rd, and I always wrap my presents late. That package got thrown across the room. That's serious. It got thrown across them. Thank God it wasn't anything breakable, but that package was absolutely a dented ass box, and I had to explain why that wrapping looked like hell.
That's fantastic. It was a little bit of a different thing here. Like, oh man, we lost. I lost. No big deal. And then it was holy shit. Oh, absolutely. My wife and whatnot. So my wife to this day, her video has more views than anything I've ever posted, and it was her video of me going ape shit on it. So
I think we all peaked that night. Like it's just
probably
trend for me ever since.
It's like the Al Bundy. I threw 4 touchdowns once caught 4 touchdowns in high school. So
it's like Uncle Rico, Napoleon Dynamite.
You know, I do have to give a super solid shout out because I'm getting my ass kicked in SFBX, which is Scott Fishbowl 10 for anybody. But Fighting Chance Fantasy has 2 top 13 teams right now. So Brian Drake is 13th, and Leo G is actually 7th right now. So that's
nuts.
Freaking nuts. It will be quite insane when FightingChanceFantasy.com has back-to-back winners.
Where is the exit button?
I can help. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. It's not going to be two chance one pod, or that I'm going to get replaced. But I mean, shit happens.
I like the 2 chance 1 pod name, to be honest. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, I just got to win something. Anything.
You've won us all over, Kevin.
I will win the Matt Harrison Explosive Output Best Ball Championship. And then we're good to go. But for tonight, let's just sink our teeth into some Week 8 stuff here. Gary, you want to bring us in some of the early game Thursday?
Yeah. Let me do one quick thing before the show brought to you by Tecate Cerveza, whatever you drink. Cerveza Tecate. Tell me, let us know where the listeners, where the viewers can read your stuff, where you're currently at.
Yeah, all my work is over at Pro Football Network. Work with Goes Eyes over on Twitter. It is at Tommy Garrett PFN. We have the podcast we're doing over there also, and then on Friday nights at 7 or 7:30, depending on her schedule, we have the Moneyline and Wine show with Chris Smith, Jessica Gonzalez, and ESPN's Anita Marks. So that goes every Friday, and you can find all my work over there.
Dude, that's so cool. That's awesome, man. I'm all the best wishes in the world with all that stuff, and you've really just been moving up, and everybody respects everything that you put out there. So
100%.
That's so awesome.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, cheers. And
cheers, fellas.
With that, let's do it. Let's jump into week 8. So we go through every single game on our shows. So we're going to start with Atlanta at Carolina, the Thursday night game. Atlanta, it's interesting because with Atlanta, you would think start everybody because Carolina just went into the season having just this terrible defense. Yeah. Something's changed. They're better defense than we kind of all thought. They're a little bit more.
I mean, it helped when they spent every single draft pick on the defensive side. I think it was the first time that ever happened in the NFL history.
It does help a little bit. Plus, when you can get Teddy and Teddy shows up, he's doing well. Robbie Anderson has been great. So with Atlanta, you're going to start Julio and you're going to start Ridley. I should actually say you're going to start Ridley and Julio. You're probably going to start Matt Ryan. And what about the other guys? Are you starting Gurley? Are you starting Gage? Are you starting Hurst? Tommy.
I mean, for me, obviously, when you're looking at just started off with Todd Gurley, I think he's absolutely a smash play. Carolina's get over the third most in terms of fantasy points to opposing running backs. And his best game of the season came against Carolina. I think it was in week 5. He had 18 touches for 121 and 142 yards and a touchdown in that game. It was his best performance. Carolina's been awful this year against the run, so you would absolutely play him. Gage has been one of the more surprising wide receiver 3s that kind of came out of nowhere. There's been a couple people that are kind of high on him in the offseason, but Atlanta just never really had a wide receiver 3 outside of those guys. And so to see him kind of step up on this team, I think it's great. You're absolutely going to play him. He's going to be a flex range play. Yeah. You're not going to love playing him, but he's always going to be in that range of probably 6 to 7 targets in this offense, just knowing how they distribute the ball. And especially if anything happens to what we saw with Julio or even with Calvin Ridley, we know he can step up and try to fill that wide receiver 2 role.
Definitely. Yeah. Russell Gage is definitely an upgrade over the Harry Douglases of the world. I don't even know if that was the most recent wide receiver 3. I can't even remember.
Pretty much. Question. I mean, he was him or Sanu, but I mean,
Sanu.
We saw that worked out for the Patriots with Hamid Sanu.
Right.
Yeah, that second rounder that just basically flushed down the toilet. But Gurley's a smash. I mean, you're looking at a guy who's gotten to 20 carries the last 2 games. He's starting to get ramped up passing game work. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, now what me and Gary were pretty much talking about is, was Gurley being that kind of volume guy. And now, at least in the last couple of games, when he's gotten at least 23 touches combined, rushing and out of the passing game, I mean, he's starting to look like that. And he's got 7 touchdowns. What more? I mean, you can't really expect much more out of Todd Gurley than what you've gotten right now. So he's in the RB1 conversation, at least this week, certainly.
Absolutely.
Against Carolina.
I mean, he's tied for the league lead in rushing touchdowns. I think anyone realizes that, although one of those is one he doesn't want to have on his resume because that was awful last week. And I love the clip that the Falcons put out about how Matt Ryan was telling everyone in the huddle, don't score. Yeah. Todd Gurley, the guy who has been the bane of fantasy owners this whole time and actually going down the 1 yard line, he finally actually falls in the end zone when he wasn't trying to. I thought that was just poetic.
Defense is going touchdown, and then offense is going no, he didn't make it.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
No, it's wild. They're just
this is a story of 2020. Just things we've never seen before.
The Falcons are such a 2020 team. It's insane.
The best thing for the Falcons is they're finding new and creative ways for them to lose, which is just bring all of us just joy we all need in our lives right now.
I think I saw the stat that they've lost 3 games where they were favored to win by 98% through the entire rest of the rest of the league. Only 4 teams have had that happen on like last minute things. And yet they've had it happen 3 times. So,
oh my God,
it's wild, but, and not to derail us too much. Like, I mean, they have to be a top 1 or top 2 coaching spot for 2021. They have the offense. It's gotta, it's going to be a really fun 2021 to see what they continue doing. But
yeah, because Quinn's gone. I mean, between him and Adam Gase, we know those two they're going to be gone next year. So it's
Quinn's gone.
Become fun.
So right now it's Raheem.
Yeah, you're right. Quinn is gone.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley want to step in and take over the Atlanta Falcons.
That's the one I had on my mind was Lincoln Riley. How fun would that be?
Oh, it'd be a blast to watch that.
We're going to have to do a little bit more of that later in the season because Lincoln Riley, I mean, you also get Deshaun Watson. So, I mean, there's a couple of offenses out there that would be interesting to see what happens. So,
or he just goes to the Jets and plays with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. So with the Panthers, let's move to the other side of the ball. Man, CMC shit on everybody's hopes and dreams for the 2020 season. Like we said, this is just the 2020 COVID season, even though it has nothing to do with that. And he might return. One, do you guys expect him to return and play tomorrow night?
Nope. You're playing Mike. It's going to be Mike Davis next week. They're not going to rush. They're not going to risk bringing him back. There's no point in trying to actually expect CMC to play. So you need to find a second option.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's prudent for them to throw CMC into the fire now. I mean, they've got a good thing going with Mike Davis right now. I think, kind of take your time. That's your franchise basically right there. So yeah, you can't just.
How bad does Mike Davis feel knowing he's played as well as he has this year and that whenever CMC comes back, you're back on the bench?
And he is a journeyman. I don't know where he was before Seattle, but he was with Seattle. He was with the Niners. He was with the Bears, and now he's with the Panthers. And I'm pretty sure he was with the team before that. And I remember when he was with the Niners, I was like, I really like this dude because I really like player stories and stuff. And his story just it seemed like he was going to work his ass off. It took a couple seasons and a few other teams, but I mean.
But he's shown okay at this point we never really knew who the RB2 was behind CMC. You had Reggie Bonifant, then you had oh god, whatever that player was they drafted, it was
Jordan
Elijah
Scarlett.
Yeah, Scarlett.
They also drafted Elijah Holyfield too. They got him as a UDFA. And so we never really had a solid RB2 behind him. At least they know they have a secondary option, even though CMC plays 97% of the snaps.
If Mike Davis is on that team next year, I'll be shocked. He has played himself into something more prominent, but also they're building something there. The Panthers are the realization also of what I hoped that the Dolphins could be in 2021. That the Panthers they're building something. The coaching's been good. So wide receivers. We got Robbie Anderson. We got DJ Moore. You're probably not going to be sitting them against this Atlanta defense. So we can move on real quickly from them and say, what about Curtis Samuel? He's getting these touches. He is an enigmatic play. I've actually had to throw him into a lineup where I have buys and injuries and I have to start 3 wide receivers. So is it fool's gold? Should I even be expecting anything from it? Or where are we at with Curtis Samuel?
Matchup wise, it makes complete sense. It's just one of those. Is he going to see the targets, especially when they have DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson doing what they're doing? We know Davis is going to see him out of the backfield, so he's going to get touches. We've kind of seen him get a little more in the rushing game at times. We've seen him get some sneaky carries. It's just weird for a guy that Joe Brady called the perfect fit in this offense to not be the perfect fit in this offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking about Curtis Samuel. They just released Seth Roberts too, and that was a guy he was splitting some slot snaps with too.
Yeah.
So now Seth Roberts is gone. I could totally see Curtis Samuel's snaps just dramatically rising. So that could be a sneaky guy to look for. Maybe at the end of the season is maybe he's going to be maybe a flex option, but that's a guy. If you really like the guy, why are you throwing Seth Roberts out there to pretty much just sap any kind of upside you have in him. So, I think
we've been waiting on the Curtis Samuel breakout season to happen. What seems like for 10 years at this point. And you go back and watch highlight film with him and Kyle Allen last year, and Allen just kept missing him on throw. And it was the stat that I loved. It was there were 25 quarterbacks who attempted 25 or more deep passes of 20 yards or more. Kyle Allen had the lowest average on adjusted accuracy. It was 19.1% accuracy on passes 20 yards or more. So you get rid of that, you bring in Teddy Bridgewater, you would think this would work out well.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle Allen was, I think, on pace to be worse from an interception perspective than Jameis Winston. So if he had just had more attempts, he would have been worse. So just quick question, yay or nay, do you have any interest in starting Ian Thomas given the sieve that is the Atlanta tight end defense?
No.
All right, we can move on to the fucking one of the best games. I'm going to be swearing way too much this episode. One of the best games of this potential season so far. Pitt at Baltimore. This is going to be an amazing game. I just want to know, who do you guys think is going to win this?
Oh, I'm a Steelers fan.
Everybody watching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Everyone watching. Yeah. And whichever team can come out of this healthy, because like the AFC North, it's the black and blue division for a reason.
Yeah.
And you've got two teams that just do not like each other, plain and simple. So whoever can come out of this game the healthiest is also the winner too.
Yeah.
But I think
the Steelers will win also, by the way.
The Steelers are underdogs.
Oh, yeah. That's the Lamar, I don't know. I think that's pandering to the betting.
I think I saw the stat. It was the 5th time in NFL history where a team that is 6-0 is a more than 4-point underdog going against another team.
Yeah, that's sick.
I don't bet.
I would take Pittsburgh +4. I would take Pittsburgh +4. Yeah. Absolutely.
Hell yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
So with Pitt, Connor's a plug and play, set and forget. You're not even going to think about it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
He's finally getting touches. I mean, he's had like over 20 touches the past 2 weeks. He's looking good in that offense. We know they want to run that. Yeah, you do. You just got to hope he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, he was a steal on draft day. I mean, we've all said that since the draft happened, and he's actually been relatively healthy so far, and he's actually now seeing touches. But they know they want to do with that workhorse style running back. Benny Snell has been okay, especially in the goal line, because that's where they've been kind of pulling James Connors, that third down and also inside the goal line. And now we have to worry about Chase Claypool in the red zone. But as far as just touches go, Connor's absolutely going to get those touches.
Yeah, that was the guy that had just massive upside that you could get in the beginning of third round. You know, the only question was, can he stay healthy? Everything else was there. You know, I would say the pass game usage is maybe less than we thought, but I mean, everything else is checked every box.
Yeah, I think Bell, any place that I've picked up Bell, I'm not letting him go, especially in anything of a keeper league, because they could be the final play of the season. All of a sudden, Bell is their 2021 starter. So for anybody that has Bell, if you are potentially having keepers, don't drop them. How do you guys rank the wide receivers going into this week? Because it is an amazing Ravens defense. They're really freaking good. They just got Giannis Ngakoue. Like, God damn it, how do they have this stuff happen? But there's going to be a ton of pressure. It looks like the Ravens are pressuring on 47.3%. Kevin put that in the show doc. So what are you going to do with the wide receivers? Rank them: Deontay, Juju, and Chase Claypool.
For me, I'm going Deontay, Claypool, and then Juju.
Same.
I'm worried about the Juju matchup against Marlon Humphrey, who's been fantastic against wide receivers this season. We do have to kind of watch out because Deontay Johnson and Juju both came up on the injury report for today. They did not practice. Deontay Johnson with the toe, Juju with the knee. It's not surprising to see those guys not practicing Wednesday. I would expect them both to play, but I would go Deontay, then Claypool, and then Juju, even though we just saw Claypool basically get completely thrown out in the last week. We know Ben loves Juju, that chemistry together, so it wouldn't surprise me to see Juju end up going over top of Claypool, but I think Deontay Johnson is clear going to be the wide receiver 1 for them this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're box score watching, you're going to be like, oh, well, Juju's back. Not against Marlon Humphrey, he's not. So, you know, Baltimore's only allowed 5 receivers all year to finish over wide receiver 35. So, you know, especially in that matchup, I mean, I still like Deontay. I think I have him actually just outside my top 35, you know, based on that stat. You know, it's going to be very, very hard for Pittsburgh to do a lot. And we're talking about a 6-0 team, you know, going on the road to Baltimore. And, you know, it's really just an unprecedented game, you know, with all that, all those factors combined.
Yeah.
But,
it's just going to be so much pressure. I mean, on both sides of the ball. Pittsburgh and Baltimore, like I said, blitz as much as anyone in the NFL. And the one benefit you got to give towards Baltimore is they have a running back. They have a quarterback who can actually move around. Lamar Jackson. Then you lose, you know, Mark Ingram in that game. I think J.K. Dobbins, on a side note, I think J.K. Dobbins will actually probably be a little bit better than Gus Edwards in this game because of that reason in the passing game.
So let's get there. You know, I really don't know if Mark Ingram's going to play. What do you guys think?
I don't think he plays.
He's trending down. I'm not expecting him to play.
Nope.
And so Tommy just said that he would take Dobbins over Edwards. Kevin, are you feeling the same?
Yeah, but I think still both are going to get 10 plus touches. So I think, just based on running backs right now in fantasy, I mean, I would have Dobbins over Edwards, but I think Edwards is still a decent flex play. I mean, he's got a good shot at least getting in the end zone, at least making what you're expecting out of him. If you're going to start him, which you're just hoping he falls in the end zone, maybe gets you close to 10, 30, 40 yards in that touchdown. So I think both are good plays, at least. Dobbins certainly better.
The downside is you have a team that is so immensely talented as the Baltimore Ravens, but very few actually trustworthy startable pieces. I mean, Lamar Jackson, you're starting him. Mark Andrews has not been the Mark Andrews we saw last year, even though he has had the touchdowns. Marquise Brown has been nowhere to be seen half the time. And then their running backs, you've got J.K. Dobbins at 44, Mark Ingram at 48, and then Gus Edwards is RB 60 in PPR. They just take away from each other. Even in a week where you lose one of that three-headed monster, you're going against the best rushing defense in the NFL in terms of fantasy points against, especially. So you're going to have a hard time trusting any of them, regardless of who we like more than one or the other. It's not going to be great. I'm just going with a guy who's going to get more likely the PPR, just because we know receptions do equate to more points than a rush. Yeah. So if I think he's going to get the dump off passes, if they do get pressure, that's the only reason I like Dobbins more. But he's nothing more than that low end RB3.
Man. Can't wait for Sunday because I got a Dobbins versus LaMichael Hasty and got to figure JaMychal Hasty and got to figure that out. So we'll cross that bridge later. But this is going to be tough. I feel like there's a lot of strangeness here. John Harbaugh though just feels like that out of the bye. They're right the ship. The problem is you can't right the ship against the Steelers, man. I think the Steelers are top 2-3 teams in the AFC, probably the second best team in the AFC.
You could put Pittsburgh Steelers in top 3 in the NFL right now.
Oh yeah, top 3 in the NFL, and I think it's Chiefs and Steelers in the AFC.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, with the Niners obviously above everybody else. So, moving on. So, Rams. We're good. Rams at Miami. To start everybody in this game, I don't know. So the Rams, I like Woods, I like Kups. I think they're going to be fantastic. I know that the Dolphins defense has been better, but this just strikes me as one of those games where they should be getting going. The difficulty is they're not showing up like we all expected them to be in the 10 to 15 range. They're, what is this, wide receiver 20 and wide receiver 22 in PPR. Are you starting them, set it and forget it with Woods and Kupp, or are they still someone that you're having to make decisions on?
No, I'm still starting them. I mean, you know how good they are. You know how good this offense can be. I don't think you can actually sit there and realistically bench them. I mean, you would have to have some fantastic wide receivers over top of them to even think about it. And even then, I'm still putting my flex.
Yeah. Kev, you muted.
All right, I don't know what the hell happened there, but I mean, as the world's most penultimate Robert Woods truther, you can't sit him no matter what, really, at this point. And same with Cooper Kupp. So they might be a little bit lower. They're out of the, they're in that low end wide receiver 2 range, but I mean, you can't sit them.
Yep.
And it looks like Higbee is going to probably be out again, at least as of today. And so we have Everett. I think that if Everett's by himself, you start him as a tight end 8 to 12 and hope for a little bit more. I don't even think there's any other tight ends in the room there. Kevin, are there?
Are you baiting me into making a Johnny Munt reference for the week?
Dude, he looked good. He looked good.
I'm gonna get his jersey. Damn it! It's gonna happen.
You just get a jersey that says Munt Cake.
Monday Night Football.
There you go.
Oh God. Drink for
I mean,
that was just said.
I think that with the Rams offense, if we saw them go up against Chicago, and Chicago's a good defense. So if one of the two is out, you start the other. I just think that that's probably a rule at this point because we know that Everett and Higbee eat into each other. So running back wise, we saw Malcolm Brown. He got a little bit more of the run. He got the touchdown. Does that make you nervous for the Darrell Henderson owners?
You're going to be nervous a little bit regardless, just so we know how they've been using this backfield. But for me, I think you've still got to play Henderson. He gets a decent matchup this week, especially. Miami's been giving up the points to the running backs pretty consistently these past couple weeks. So I would still play Darrell Henderson. He's going to be that wide receiver, that low end like RB2 kind of range.
Yep, I agree. And if you've got Cam Akers, I would say at this point, just really stop waiting. If you need the spot, drop him. I mean, he's just taking up space at this point. They're clearly not, they're not working him in right now. Maybe at the end of the season, but right now there's no light at this tunnel right now.
For sure.
In Dynasty, would you guys be trying to acquire Cam Akers right now?
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%.
Only because I think he's dirt cheap. Not because
exactly.
I think he's necessarily like I went into the season always just saying like I think that this is a split. I think people are nuts for being so low on Henderson because you really don't know. And if McVay is saying he wants to be like the Niners backfield, which he had said, like it's not as if the Niners were like a one-show pony, like not at all, or one pony show, whatever. So. Yeah, I acquire him for cheap. I think you could probably get him for like a solid wide receiver that's kind of like a lower end wide receiver and just see what happens. But running backs are such a.
You can get him for an early second, honestly. If someone's pissed off enough, someone's kind of skittish, I think you could get him for like a 201 or 202 second.
I'm thinking about the 201 and the 202 if I'd even want to get that up there for Cam Akers.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We have to have a whole conversation before even draft season arrives about what to do with 21 picks because it's an entire anomaly.
I will personally, I'm getting all the 21 I can. 21 first.
So my wife just refilled my drink. That's exciting. Thank you, wife.
Thank you, wife.
All right. This is exciting. We finally get to talk about the Miami-led Tua Tagovailoa, if I even said that right. What do you expect? Tommy, we'll go with you. Kevin, to you.
I think that if he doesn't come out to a hot start, Miami fans are just going to be just up in arms after watching what Burrow and Herbert have done. I'm not massively high.
And Fitz.
Yeah, and Fitz too. Absolutely. I think that's one of the more surprising things why they did that. Like, you're putting him up now against Jalen Ramsey and getting pressured by Aaron Donald.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a good idea, especially to test out his hip. Like, we're one Aaron Donald to test out to his hip. Like, I don't know if that's a recipe for success.
No, it's not. I mean, that's the first thing I saw is like he gets to get just pummeled by Aaron Donald and he's going to have, Devontae Parker on Jalen Ramsey. Like, good luck. I mean, I hope Mike Gesicki's going to get about 15 targets in this game. Just having to just run away from everything. It's his toughest start. It doesn't seem that tough on paper, but when you look at the skill, those positions for the Rams with Donald and Ramsey, I mean, and the other guys they have too. I mean, that's a pretty tough test. But, if Tua can come out of this, looking halfway decent, I mean, it's only going to get better.
I think it's all like, what do we need to consider a success for Tua? It's A, coming out of the game healthy, and B, just coming out of the game healthy.
Yeah, I think anybody that's holding Preston, anybody that's holding Gesicki, and if you have Devontae, like you're just kind of holding with bated breath, just waiting to see what happens because Tua's style could lend more to Gesicki, could lend more to Preston. In this game, it's going to suck because like Devontae Parker is going against Jalen Ramsey. I always just want Devontae Parker to just blow up against the top corners because of what he did to Stephon Gilmore last year. I want him just to be like, I'm not the best wide receiver in the league, but I can dominate any cornerback in the league type thing. So I don't know. I'm still starting all three of them solely just for the upside. It's trepidatious, but we'll see what happens. Myles Gaskin, I think he's probably the only running back you're really starting there. Yep. Is he a running back 2? Is he a running back 3?
Running back 2 for me. Probably that lower end running back 2. That running back 20 to 22 range.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a mid to low RB2 for me. I mean, you're pretty much hoping he kind of falls in the end zone and maybe gets a little bit of passing work too, which I think the Rams will come out and at least I think they're going to win the game. I think Miami will be in a negative game script, so that's really going to help. Tua at least maybe get some more rapport with his receivers, so that might help him. But yeah, if we're talking about the Miami pass catchers, definitely a holding pattern until we can see some patterns come out here with how he's gonna what he's gonna look for, what he's gonna look to with these guys, because we know Ryan Fitzpatrick had tunnel vision for Devontae Parker, so that's something we definitely have to look for to see how he's going to use those guys.
I think Tua is going to be a fantastic NFL quarterback, and he is going to be nothing like Herbert and Burrow. That's just my own view. I don't watch college, so.
So you don't watch college?
I don't really watch college, to be honest. No, yeah.
See, honestly, I'm a bigger college fan than I am NFL.
Weird.
I have to be here being in college because I have Trey Lance out my window in Fargo. So
I got things out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't say anything bad about Carson Wentz. So I'm kind of stuck there. But
what did you think about that exhibition game? If we're going to talk about Trey Lance for a second.
I mean, I don't know. I think it was just good to maybe get one game out there, but I really don't think those teams. I mean,
I don't think it was necessary.
No,
if you like Trey Lance, you like Trey Lance. You had a whole season of film on him. Like 2 halves is not going to change your opinion on what you thought of him, especially when he played like a guy who was playing his first game of the season for the first half and he looked better in the second. But I mean, you kind of either like Trey Lance or you don't.
Right, exactly. And, you've pretty much people like him, you're taking him as a second quarterback over Fields. But if you're looking at, Trey Lance, the showcase game was going to be at Oregon, but obviously that got canceled. I think that was going to bring him into national, conversations, people who haven't seen him. So it's a tough break that he didn't get to go to Eugene to play Oregon, because I think with the team they had, if they were playing without, worldwide pandemic, I think they had a good shot to win that game. But I think Central Arkansas is really unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's definitely it's Lawrence, and then it's your conversation. I think Fields, especially the way he's played this year, is definitely taking that step as number 2. But like I said, it's all who you like for the most part.
Yeah,
it'll be wild to see what happens just the way the NFL has played out this season with injuries and whatnot. The teams that are going to be in play for those guys.
Yeah,
I love my Jimmy, but there is that world where they move on and they say, let's go and get one of these guys and put him in a Kyle Shanahan or something like that offense, and all of a sudden, I don't. We're gonna move on before I get off on a tangent. So, the Jets, the mighty Jets at the Kansas City Chiefs. Is there anyone right now that you are confident in starting for the Jets?
Unless it's Jamison Crowder, not a person.
So Crowder's option potential 1. Kevin?
I don't even mind Michael Pirine. If he's going to be getting all that passing work as a lower end flex, I'd play him. I mean, other than that, I miss me on Braxton Berrios or Jeff Smith or whatever public accountants you can throw out there to play wide receiver.
My thing is, there's a difference in between being comfortable and I'm having to play a guy. I feel like Pirine is the I'm having to play a guy thing, where with Crowder, I think he's every week going to see at least 10 targets.
Yeah. So why not Denzel Mims?
I think Denzel Mims, he looked really good in that first half, and then we saw them completely go away from him in the second, which made no sense to me whatsoever. Yeah. I would love to have Denzel Mims. I would love to acquire him in any league that I could, especially in Dynasty, because we think he could be something. And like we just talked about, Trevor Lawrence, throw Denzel Mims. Perfect. But it's trusting a Jets wide receiver, I think, is a very hard thing to do when there's so many good streaming options every single week.
Yeah. I mean, does anything the Jets do make sense at this point? I mean, if we're being honest.
I mean, how many, what's the over-under on games Adam Gase should have been fired or will be fired? And I mean, the over-under should have been 3, and somehow we're
-7 because it should have been fired before the season started.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move on to Kansas City. I'm just going to throw it out there. We all know that we're going to play Mahomes. We're going to play CEH. We're going to play Hill. We're going to play Kelsey. I want to know after that who you're comfortable going back to that starting beyond those 4. They're the normals. Are you comfortable starting Bell? And are you comfortable starting either Hardman or Robinson? And I probably shouldn't have screwed up and said, is Watkins playing? or does it matter?
I don't know if Watkins is playing. I think he's trending in the wrong direction, if
Yeah,
I
don't
remember
think he is
correctly.
either.
Bell for me, I mean, he's going to be that he's a flex play because he did get he got 17 snaps last week compared to CH with 27. So he is going to be on the field, and especially in this week, I mean, you're playing everyone against this team. We know Andy Reid's going to get creative. We saw that first carry that Bell had was like 16 yards, and it looked like vintage Pittsburgh Le'Veon Bell. So I think you can start him with some confidence, especially like I said, that like your flex kind of role. Hardman would be the other guy, especially with Sammy Watkins out. I would feel okay starting. It's just once you get past those guys, anyone could get that touchdown if Patrick Mahomes decides to give that guy the ball.
Anthony Sherman.
It's exactly. It could be Brian Pringle. Like we saw him. I've been wanting him to be a thing for years. So you can walk through a line of a wide receiver.
Once you pop, you can't stop. Apparently, the NFL didn't.
I was going to just say that.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm good with Bell. I mean, I think there's a realistic possibility that Le'Veon Bell could be getting more work than CH going into the when it starts getting colder, when it starts getting into crunch time, when they need to run the ball toward getting into the playoffs. And you could see CH maybe take a little bit more of the pass work, but I think Bell will still be a little bit involved there. But I mean, keep in mind, this is Le'Veon Bell, who we've seen in a special offense in Pittsburgh, going to another special offense now in Kansas City. So, there's still tread on the tires. I don't think Bell was washed. I mean, that was really just a product of the environment he was in and with the Jets. So, Bell is clearly rejuvenated. There's something there. And I think we're going to see a little bit more of that as he, as his playbook expands a little bit.
And I forgot to say, I think it should be Sam Darnold starting for the Jets, right? Pretty sure he started last week.
Yeah, he started last week, even though he was god awful.
As if
I think he put up like negative 14 points in SFBX scoring.
That game in general was terrible. So
you're not kidding.
All right, Minnesota at Green Bay. They're getting Dalvin Cook back. They're getting healthy. No, they still just have all the guys that they played the first time they played Green Bay, and they're going to go to Green Bay and they're going to get their ass kicked. But getting your ass kicked doesn't mean that you're going to suck for fantasy. You're starting Dalvin Cook, right? That's just not a question. Yeah. You're starting Adam Thielen.
You're playing him.
And you're starting Justin Jefferson. Is there anyone else you're considering?
If you are in like a 2 tight end league, you might want to look at Irv Smith, but he's probably already rostered at that point.
Yeah,
you pretty much hit on the guys I'd be looking at playing.
What about Cousins?
Yeah, maybe you can probably find better streaming options, to be honest, because Cousins could be so up and down.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, you're starting Thielen, really. Yes, he's going up against Jair Alexander, who's pretty much erased most top wide receivers that's been across from him. Josh Jackson did pretty well against Brandon Cooks last week, and Kevin King is likely out, so you're going to be going with Josh Jackson against Justin Jefferson. I think Jefferson's gonna if anybody's gonna do anything for the Vikings outside of Cook, it's gonna be Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
I think Irv Smith's I think he's a great streamer. At tight end, if you're, say you have Dalton Schultz and you're looking for an out and you see a guy out there and maybe you missed on Harrison Bryant. I think Irv Smith's a guy that people may have glossed over because he just had his bye week last week, but it's a guy who's had 5 targets in the last 2 games and caught 8 of them. So I think he's absolutely worth it. And that's a guy that I've talked about it for weeks now as him and Rudolph, ships kind of passing in the night. They're going to be going to that more athletic tight end that maybe he's going to get more work in the slot. So, Irv Smith is absolutely in the conversation of streamers at tight end.
I want to throw out a deep shot here. You guys can tell me if I'm being ridiculous. Green Bay gets up so much that it's unrealistic for Minnesota to come back. I mean, realistically, that could even be at half.
It's my wet dream, Gary.
And Alexander Madison all of a sudden gets some run because Dalvin Cook, they don't want to risk that groin getting re-injured. Is that crazy? Or
I don't think
it
even
like
takes
a DFS team?
I don't think it even takes Green Bay getting up heavy. I mean, would it be surprising anyone if they see Dalvin Cook get a limited role because they don't want to have him get that re-aggravated? So you see a little bit more of like a 60-40 snap share?
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be surprising at all.
Yeah,
it feels to me like a DFS play. Like if you're looking for a GPP, something a little bit deeper. I haven't looked at prices or anything because I'm disgruntled when it comes to DFS right now. But I mean, I definitely think that there's a world right there where he could be that guy. He could be that Carlos Hyde from last week type thing. Green Bay, man, Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Adams, like, just God, I just can't fucking wait to see what they're gonna do. They're gonna ball out. It's gonna be amazing. You know, one of the big question marks has been Robert Tonyan. He still looked actually pretty good. I think we got spoiled by that 3 touchdown game. So where does he fit? Is he a tight end 1 or is he a borderline tight end 1?
He would be tight end 1. He like be on that borderline range, kind of like that mid tight end 2, kind of like that. I would say mid. He's probably like that 12 to 14 range. Because once you get past Devontae Adams, like he could literally see every single target, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially in the red zone. Like Aaron Rodgers only has him to throw to. MVS isn't doing a damn thing. He literally put up a donut. So I mean, it's outside of Adams. Tanya is probably going to be the pass catcher number 2, and that might only be 5 catches.
I will say before Kevin interjects, because he's the resident Packer fan, I actually think that Tonyan is going to be the 6 to 8 tight end, because I think that he was still coming off the injury. There was still a question mark there, and I think by the end of the season, Robert Tonyan is going to be one of those guys where like, damn it, how do we miss that top 10 tight end? And that this is going to be another one of those games that adds to that.
I think it's everyone still wanting Jay Sternberger to be a thing.
Got a touchdown last week. I mean,
yep.
What the?
That was the thing that was great about it. Tanya gets all the work and Sternberger gets a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's gone with pretty much how I thought it would, at the beginning of the season. Adams, Jones as basically the second pass catcher, and then everybody else just in a glut. You know, but between MVS and whatever wide receiver you want to throw out there, Darius Shepard, Malik Taylor, Mercedes Lewis. I mean, all these guys are just in a big pile. No one is separating themselves. I mean, we had MVS in the beginning of the season, but even Tonyan, I'm not super, because I know how Green Bay has used their tight ends and how they really haven't had a guy that they've used frequently. The last guy they've really used was Jared Cook when they had him for that year. I mean, they didn't really use Jimmy
that frequently.
No. And that's the thing. I think he still had like 80 targets.
Jermichael Finley.
Yeah, Jermichael Finley back when Rodgers was in, savant mode in 2011. But Tonyan, it's tough because, Rodgers clearly likes the guy. I mean, has pretty good athleticism. He's clearly the most talented tight end. I would say he's the most talented tight end, even including Sternberger. But I still think he's outside of the 12 tight ends. I think he's a streaming guy right now. I just think that 3 touchdown games kind of an anomaly, at least at this point.
Mm-hmm. You guys are making me sad. So we're going to move on. Indianapolis Colts at Detroit Lions. Tell me who you're starting outside of Jonathan Taylor on the Colts.
That's the one player I feel good about, to be completely honest. I mean, because T.Y. Hilton hasn't been that good this season. And then you look at, okay, who else do they have? Like, we're looking at Zach Pascal. Like, I don't feel great about him. Trey Burton would be the one guy if you're looking for a tight end, just because he has seen the red zone looks. But, I mean, really, it's Jonathan Taylor. And quite honestly, like, this starts up like one of the best rest of season schedules is Jonathan Taylor. Like, in terms of running backs, he goes against Detroit this week, which gives up the 28th most points to opposing running backs. Then he gets Green Bay they're the most. Houston is 29th. Vegas is 31st, and he also sprinkles in Jacksonville, which is 27th against running backs. He's got 2 matchups against Tennessee, which are in the middle of the road. The only other worries that we have is the matchup against Baltimore, Pittsburgh, but literally 6 of his next 8 games are against bottom of the barrel defenses. And we just saw what happened with DeAndre Swift when they came out of a bye week and how much they then changed their offense to kind of give him more targets. The Colts coming off there is you have to think that Frank Wright and those guys are now going to be like, hey, look, we spent this pick to get a very good running back. You've got to think Jonathan Taylor is about to see a lot more usage. And these, like I said, these matchups are about as good as it gets.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just I want to see them commit to Taylor. They haven't really quite done that outside of week 2. So right now you're looking at the the dust of T.Y. Hilton, Zach Pascal on his 5 targets, And then, we have seen Marcus Johnson flash in a couple games too. So that could be something to maybe keep an eye on. You're not starting him with any certainty though, but that's, like I said, something you're certainly keep an eye on. Trey Burton, I think he's leaps and bounds over, Mo Alley, Cox, and Doyle at this point. So I think, with the snaps and everything like that, I think Trey Burton's certainly a solid streamer tight end, even going up to that top 12. I think he's on the fringe, but yeah, I mean, you're not confident in any of those pass catchers, really.
Just remember that Mo Alley Cox, no one is leaps and bounds above him. He's too big. Detroit. So we're gonna. You're starting Galladay. I think you're probably starting Swift because he's been showing out pretty well. I don't even know if you're starting Stafford. Indy has been so good on defense. I was a year early on them as a defense. I'm sad about that, but here we are. Okay, Kevin, where are you at with Stafford, Marvin Jones, AP?
Yeah, so I mean, AP, I think he's somehow still getting work. So we kind of have to account for that when you're looking at Swift and realizing, what can I realistically get out of him week to week? He's kind of that barnacle that's just hanging on, and he's not going to go away, as sad as it is. And that's really an indictment on Matt Patricia. But when you're looking at a guy like Marvin Jones, I mean, this is a guy we've been waiting for him because he's been kind of lying in the weeds for most of the season. Up until last week, he went 5 for 80. If he gets, Rock Ya-Sin or Xavier, the ghost of Xavier Rhodes, I mean, I think he can have a really good week, that Marvin Jones week that you pray for in DFS, where he gets, 6 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, we're waiting for that game. It's going to happen, and this is a pretty good spot for it to happen, even though Indy has been pretty stout on defense for most of the season. So, think back to Thanksgiving a couple years ago when Marvin Jones pretty much did that against peak Xavier Rhodes, and now if he goes against him again, or even Rock Ya-Sin, who I think Jones certainly has the leg up on both of those guys. I think that's a sneaky guy you could play. That. Who knows? He could still be on waivers right now. I mean, or at like the end of benches, you could probably get him for nothing.
Yeah, definitely. You could see what happens with him. You have any interest in starting Hawk or Swift? I was debating on which one I wanted to throw out there first, but so we'll go with Hawkinson.
I think both of them, they're both startable, but I think you really need to kind of temper your expectations against them. We know how good Indianapolis is against both those positions. I think last time I checked, Indy was like top. Actually, yeah, they are the number 1 team against opposing tight ends. They're only giving up like 5 points a game in PPR formats. Yeah, they're amazing. A lot of that came down to like when they had Darius Leonard at the time, how much he was covering them. With Swift, it's kind of like we just talked about with Jonathan Taylor, is that change in touches. Like DeAndre Swift went from 10, 6. I'm sorry, he went from 6 to 10 and then 8, 1 as far as touch counts. They had their bye, and then he had 19 and then 13 in those past 2 weeks. In the first 4 games, he had 7 rushes for 42 yards. In the last 2 games, he's had 23 rushes for 143 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I think we were starting to see that carry percentage go up for him. He's still going to get the bulk of the passing game in this one. It's just we're starting to see him try to get more of that Adrian Peterson rushing total that we were kind of wanting for. Like we talk about kind of that buying window slamming shut on DeAndre Swift. It's cracked open a little bit this week, given that it's going to be a tough matchup, but it's one of those, I think he's going to be very good going forward.
Yeah, I agree. And going to Hawkinson too. I mean, that's a guy he's tight end 7 right now in PPR, but he really hasn't had a big game. I mean, he's been pretty touchdown dependent.
I think he has 5 on the year, if I'm correct.
1, 2, 3, 4, but still, I mean, he's had 4 to 7 targets each game. He hasn't done a lot with them as far as yardage. 59, 53, 62, 56. So you're really depending on that touchdown to kind of buoy him. He hasn't had that, that big break like he had in week 1 last year. I mean, when he blew up and then
that was his one game.
Yeah, exactly. So we haven't seen anything like that. Certainly it's in the cards, but you can expect certainly 5 targets, 4 catches, 40 yards. Maybe he gets in the end zone, but Yeah, I mean, right now he's basically Austin Hooper without the blow up games in that big offense.
It'll happen soon enough with his this is second year, so next year will be his third year breakout.
Well, we know how long it takes for tight ends to develop. Like, never expect anything great out of rookie tight ends. And it's just the way it goes. It's so hard to learn that position. You've got to learn the blocking assignments. You've got to learn the routes, all the offensive line changes, and their play calls. Like, it's so hard to learn and try to get all that down in 1 year. So we're starting to see that progression. And the same thing for Irv Smith, like we're just talking about. He was also behind Kyle Rudolph at the time. So we're kind of seeing these guys start to take off a little bit.
Yeah, they develop. So moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders at the Cleveland Browns. And honestly, I think we're looking at the two teams that are probably vying for that wild card spot. I guess the 5 to 7 spot. The numbers are still throwing me off having that extra 7 there. Vegas is confusing as hell. I will say right now, I like Derek Carr. Derek Carr has done so much more than I think we all expected. I was never a Ruggs fan. I thought Bryan Edwards was like the second coming, and it's all flipped on its head. And Derek Carr has played pretty damn well, especially against defenses that aren't just some of the more elite ones. So with all that being said, now going against the Browns, who are we starting here? Are we just starting everybody? Like, just let him go, run go routes.
Yeah, I mean, Carr, Jacobs, Waller, and Ruggs. Those are my 4 starts.
What about
Especially
Nelson?
Ruggs.
What about Nelson Aguilar though?
Yeah, watch him now drop 6 passes this week.
Don't put that evil on me.
But also, like, don't assign 2019 to 2020 Aguilar. Like, we live in the upside down. And so far, he's been pretty darn good, right? What do tell me about 2020? Why I should doubt Aguilar?
It's
in 2020.
In 2020, I've got nothing. It's 2020. Like, anything can absolutely happen. I give you that one. But do you feel good about starting him?
I didn't until last week.
Okay, so we're 1 for what, 7 now?
I think it's NBA Jam rules, right? Like he went 3 in a row, and
he's on fire now. He's on fire.
Yeah, he's on fire. So
touchdowns in 3 straight games. I mean,
he has made me lose faith in Hunter Renfrow. So that's enough. And then with Ruggs, with Waller, I mean, he is the third option that gets stuck on the guy that was, we don't really know who or what to do with him, and he's doing well. Like the pans that were his hands, they have more dexterity.
Oh my God, Gary!
Come on, man! He's making catches. For the last 2 years, it's been Nelson Aguilar just has these like walrus-like hands, and he can't make any catch.
I'll throw a baseball reference out there. He's Zach Greinke. He couldn't handle Philly. Now he's in Vegas, and there's no fans. He's got no pressure.
Do you know what that means? I don't. I understand my walrus thing better.
Well, I'm also a Mets fan, so like I tune into baseball for like part of the season, and then I just like stop caring for a little bit.
Same. I'm a Yankee fan, and that's exactly.
Oh God, Gary, how do you deal with this then?
Kevin and I will agree that we think that Aguilar, especially in this specific matchup, is somebody that you could flex. I actually went and tried to pick him up in various leagues just because of bye weeks and injuries and stuff. I think that we all like, as we said, Jacobs, Ruggs, Waller. Who was the fourth? Was there fourth? I think it was just the 3 of them.
Carr.
Yeah, Carr. I would start Aguilar and poop on my face if I'm wrong. I apologize, but so far he has done nothing to tell us that's Jr. not the greatest.
Rather shitty. But
moving on. So moving on to Cleveland. So OBJ, big news. Yeah, he tore his ACL in this most recent game. And as much as Baker, what was his quote? I don't want to talk about Odell's injury because that would be disrespectful. Oh, he was asked if he would be better without Odell. And he said, I don't want to talk about that because that would be disrespectful to my buddy that was just got hurt. He didn't say no. He just said that would be disrespectful. So Rashard Higgins, Jarvis Landry. Yeah, do you like them as starts?
I think I can see both of them being startable. We kind of been looking at the guy who could want to be the wide receiver 3 for Cleveland for a while because they really haven't had one. Like at one point, Kareem Hunt we thought was going to be the wide receiver 3 for that team with Nick Chubb in the backfield. So we could see Higgins kind of step up, and we also just saw Michigan product last week, Donovan Peoples-Jones catch that touchdown pass. So I think Higgins could absolutely be startable, and it's one of those ones like I kind of talked about it. It was actually Andrew Thomas. We did the podcast together. He kind of talked about this one too. Like the loss of OBJ might actually end up helping Baker in the long run because he no longer can just target and look at one guy. It's going to force him to try to read the field and then progress as a quarterback. We're kind of seeing the development with Kevin Stefanski, the change in this offense, Baker getting better when he's rolling out, which we've all known was the thing since Oklahoma days. So I'm not going to say losing Odell Beckham Jr. makes him better, but his progression as a quarterback and in development of a quarterback, it might help him in the long run. It just sucks losing one of the better wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. If we're talking about Higgins, I think he's certainly capable, and I think he can be a flex play going forward. I mean, he led the Browns in air yards last week, 4 catches of over 15 yards. So I think Landry is a guy that you can pick up for cheap too. That might have a little, certainly an increased, opportunity in that offense, even though the Browns don't really pass a ton, but when they do get down, they do, tend to just throw that out the window and, pass when they can. I think this has got sneaky shootout potential too. In this game, I think this is a game I could totally see just absolutely smashing the over under. Being probably the highest scoring game of the week here. So, I picked up Higgins in a lot of leagues. I think he's certainly flexible, throwing him in your flex or even as a wide receiver 3. I don't mind it.
You mean this game's going to outscore Dallas and the Eagles?
I could see that. I think, what's the
I thought that was going to be a high scoring game.
I definitely do because I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to crush.
That's going to be an awful game.
Crush.
It's going to be an awful game.
Their D line's playing so well, man. Brandon Graham and just everybody on that line. I mean, I don't know why I dropped him. I just
are we dependent on Ben fucking DiNucci to put up points?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's not gonna
come on.
So Hooper sounds like he's gonna be out again. Do you flip a coin or do you have an actual reason to believe in Harrison Bryant or in David Njoku?
I'd run it back on Bryant. A lot of people kind of forget this was the Mackey Award winner at Florida Atlantic. Like this guy is very good at football. He's good at doing what he does. I liked him last week over Njoku, and I thought it said a lot when he was listed as the starting tight end over top of David, even though he had been there this whole time. I think that says a lot in terms of where their belief is on him.
It says, David, we'll probably let you get traded. We don't really mind at this point. We'll take a sec.
Yeah, it's like the third time he's asked to get traded too.
Come on, guys, just fucking listen. All right, well, and you're all starting Hunt. Don't start to Ernest Johnson. If you're still doing that, you haven't been paying attention.
What a waste of fab people spend on him.
I went on a soliloquy about that. Last week was it, Gary? Yeah. About how the hell did people spend like 80 fab bucks on D'Ernest Johnson? I did not get it then. I'll never get it.
It made in the defense of those that took D'Ernest Johnson, not in a fab, but over Justin Jackson, they have the best, at the time, best rushing O-line in the NFL. It just makes sense that someone steps in. Sometimes people go down, and sometimes you're like, JaMychal Hasty is going to be awesome because you just understand a team is better at rushing.
I feel like I'm being scolded right now.
Go home, you're drunk. Tennessee at Cincinnati.
Continue.
Start everybody. Like, who are you not starting in this game? Like, so for Tennessee, just because I have to legally, I'm required to go through this. You're starting Tannehill. You're starting Derrick Henry. You're starting AJ Brown. You're starting Johnny Smith. Mm-hmm. After that, sure, maybe there's some questions. You start Humphreys. You start Corey Davis. I think at this point you're probably back to starting Corey Davis. Yeah. It's probably like a flex 2, but I think you're starting him.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed the guys you're going to start. You don't feel great about starting Corey Davis, but it might finally be Corey Davis season, which is like the most 2020 thing possible.
It's the most Devontae Parker season.
Yeah, I was going to say he's our generation's Devontae Parker.
Yeah, I saw a thing that was interesting. It was like if you take the letters in the name Corey Davis, it spells out COVID year, which absolutely fucking blew my mind. But it made all the sense in the world.
Oh my god, that's fantastic. I know
everyone else right now that's listening is trying to do that in their head. And
I did just now. I blew my mind.
I'm thrown off by the S, but everything like COVID years. Oh my god, he's going to be around for multiple years. Pick him up.
Or COVID year. COVID
Dynasty.
Year. There
you go. Okay, so for Cincy, we just watched Burrow have another blow up game. He happens to have them whenever he goes up against the Browns.
Burrow's having an aneurysm.
And so here we are going up against a different team that's not the Browns, but I think that Burrow can do well against the Titans, and he has this incredible trio of wide receivers. Incredible is an overshot, but good, very great. And that's Boyd, Higgins, and Green, intentionally said in that order.
In that order, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree. Mixon doesn't sound like he's going to play. And so it sounds like he
missed practice today.
Yep.
So we got another Gio Bernard game. Gio RB2.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna try to go the other way and say you probably a flex guy, but yeah, he's just based on volume, probably. Yeah.
So Kevin says back end RB2, higher mid-ish RB3. Higgins and Green. Is Higgins a wide receiver 2?
I wouldn't go wide receiver 2. He is on that team, yes.
He has the upside of 1.
Yeah, he's got the upside of 1, but I don't think you're not going to trust him every week as a wide receiver 2. If he does it, great, but you don't have to pay that price to be able to play him every single week, if that makes sense.
So then, if he's a wide receiver 3, is AJ Green a 4 and a flex, or is he just
Yeah.
I think this is your DFS stack of the week, honestly. I think it's probably, if you're taking Burrow and 2 of those guys, based on ownership, and then you can bring it back with either, Derrick Henry or AJ Brown, I think you're in good shape for that. But I haven't looked at any ownership, but this was the one game I targeted as far as DFS.
The terrible AJ Brown, who does nothing until his 74-yard touchdown and then finishes with 6 for 153 and 1. Dude's so awesome.
I can't believe that was even a game. That just pissed me off. You're up 27-7, ends up being a 3-point game.
It happens. For anybody that looked at a box score, like the Roethlisberger interceptions were very. 2 of them, one of them was like, you fucked up. One of them was, it wasn't that great. And one of them was like, holy shit, that was an awesome play.
Yeah. Well, the last one that he threw to actually give him the ball back and when it was a 3-score game, it was Deontay Johnson had left the field the exact play beforehand. And so he didn't have the guy he had been comfortable throwing to all damn game, and then throws it in triple coverage in the end zone. It was not the needed play. Just take the damn field goal and go up 6.
Yeah.
Instead, we have to rely on Gostowski to do what Gostowski's done all season, which is miss field goals.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
He's the last season of Peyton Manning.
Bo, I did terrible. So there's your answer.
Bo,
how did I?
Come on, Bo.
Well, we got one more game on the early slate, and I don't know if we really want to talk about it, but I guess we do because it's a National Football League game. Patriots at Buffalo. I look at I'll start with Buffalo. It's pretty much a nightmare scenario at this point when you're trying to dig into those running backs with Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. They pretty much had equal opportunity. 7 rushes for Moss, 8 for Singletary. Both ran pretty close to the same amount of routes. Are both guys flexes at this point, and you're just hoping one gets the leg up on the other, Tommy, or what are your thoughts?
They are, but for me personally, if I had Singletary, I'm trading him off. If you can pull it off, go for it. I think he's rostered in 94% of leagues, and I just don't feel good about playing him. You're still worried about Josh Allen and his rushing game. He's still getting vultured in carries from Zach Moss. It's just not something I want to be a part of personally. Yeah, if you play him, he's going to be that RB 24 to RB 28 range in rankings most weeks. It's just he just hasn't been good this year. His efficiency has dropped down from like 5.1 to 3.8. He's not getting carries. Granted, the fumbles, hey, you improved that. He has 0 fumbles, but it's just been terrible if you've been trying to play Singletary. And if you can, like, trade him away on name value alone and try to help out your team some other place.
And I think to add to that, like, trade for Moss in any, keeper dynasty, whatever.
Yeah.
Singletary has really just not won himself any favor.
I just don't understand how that dude was going in the 5th round this year. I mean, the one way to avoid Devin Singletary, just don't draft him. I didn't. I was going to take him in the 5th round with, and with Chark and McLaurin and all those receivers in that range. There's no freaking way. No,
that was why you went running backs quickly. You went running backs early, and then you loaded up on that wide receivers like that 4, 5, 6 range. That was the sweet spot in the draft to grab those guys. So yeah, there was no point to honestly wait and take someone like a Devin Singletary when you could have had James Conner around earlier.
Whew.
Yeah, and then it got really wild too when you're looking at drafts like right up against the like week 1, where Moss was going like ahead of Singletary. Like they were going like the 7th, 8th round. It was just absolute madness. Everybody's buying on Zach Moss. But yeah, I mean, I think Moss, obviously, with the draft capital put into him and Singletary, I think Moss is going to win out. It's just right now, it's hard to really start either with any kind of certainty.
It's not the game to do it against New England. There will be better games against the Jets.
Yep, for sure. And then New England, anybody. I mean, I'm going to even throw Cam Newton in here. Gary. Who are you starting? I mean, are you starting Edelman? I mean, even James White, the guys who we've, been touting for years as just bedrocks and consistent. And Cam Newton's got all this upside. I mean, just the state of this offense. I don't want to start anybody. I'd rather start someone on the Jets before I start anybody, here. It's wild.
I would not start anybody, and I feel like someone on like a DFS is going to win hundreds of thousands of dollars off of Cam Newton's anger. That dude, I genuinely believe in Cam Newton as a person and as a football player, not as a passer as of late, but right, you can't trust any of them. If you want to take the shot, you are either literally going to get like a couple points, or he is going to blow up and run all over. And the running all over is like a 5%, 10% chance.
Yeah. But that's all that's how stupid DFS is sometimes. I mean, when we saw Cam Newton playing well, it's because he was doing everything. He was leading the team in rushing yards. He was making every single play. And it's like you kind of brought up Julian Edelman at that point. Like Edelman, like his past 4 weeks, 4.2, 6.5, 3.4, 2.3. For a guy that was a rock solid player, like you can't play him. N'Keal Harry hasn't been playing well with Cam Newton. There's no tight end on this team. The running backs, we have no idea who's going to play between James White, Burkhead, Michelle, JJ Taylor. Like we don't know who's going to get all the carries. I'm staying away from New England.
Can I have to add this because Tommy, if you don't know this, you've probably never listened. Like I'm a very narrative driven person. Stephon Gilmore said that he will accept offers on his house up until 1 hour after the trade deadline on Tuesday. If that's maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that that's true. I saw it in places, and I'm gullible. So if that is true, there's no reason for them not to shop him. And if they want to go full tank, that helps Newton. Their defense is not something that can carry them, and at some point they need to rush their offense, or the complete opposite, and they say, "Let's see what we need in Brian Hoyer or in
Jarrett Stidham."
Stidham, thank you, Jarrett Stidham. So that they can go and tank.
See, I didn't see that tweet. Did you see the one that Carlos Dunlop did? Basically the same thing right after the game of the weekend.
He got traded, right?
Yeah, he did. But he did the same thing. That his house was on the market. It was like 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath, best school district in the city, or something
Carlos
like that.
Dunlop also posted plays of what they do when the offense is showing specific, like that was a whole different.
It doesn't go over well in locker rooms. I'll tell you right now.
It doesn't. None of it does. So I don't
That's
know.
wild.
If you're starting a New England Patriot, you're throwing a Hail Mary up because you think that you maybe are going to win with Cam in a GPP. There's no one else that I would even touch or consider touching, and I'm happy to be wrong in it, even if it cost me $1 million. I would less be happy.
I would not be happy.
I would not be happy, but
No,
I'm not going to be
I would
putting
not be
anyone
happy.
in my lineup.
Yeah, that's probably for the best, certainly. So let's get into the late slate here with Chargers at the Broncos. So, Justin Herbert, he's been quarterback 9 the last 2 weeks. He also had a bye week in those 2 weeks too. So that should kind of tell you where he's been at the last week or so. But Denver's been pretty good against the pass. They've allowed 230 yards or less each of the last 3 games, only 1 touchdown. I can't imagine not throwing Justin Herbert out there, but I think we got to temper some expectations. I think Keenan Allen is, he's set and forget guy. I think there's no chance you're ever sitting him unless he's hurt. But where are you at on guys like Mike Williams or even like a deep throw, a deep play in Jalen Guyton?
Williams at any point could catch that deep ball. We know that. We know Herbert has the arm to do it. It's just the connection's got to finally happen. It's just he has to look at someone other than 13, and that really has been happening.
So hard.
That's the thing.
So good.
Remember, it was funny how people were kind of down on Keenan Allen this year.
Oh, when Keenan Allen stepped up
worked
for himself and said, "You guys are talking shit," when he was talking to Evans, Godwin, and Hill, and he was like, "No, I'm
about best receivers in the league." Yeah, and then all of a sudden, all these cornerbacks start coming out. Like the toughest guy we have to cover is Keenan Allen. He runs the best routes. You hear all this noise, and they're kind of right. My thing is this is not the Justin Herbert that we saw at Oregon, the guy that could not step up in the big games. Like that is not at all who is playing right now for the Chargers.
Yeah, good for them to get that out of him. And Keenan Allen reminds me of like middle of career Steve Smith with the Panthers, as far as guy that just plays with a chip on his shoulder and just wants to prove everybody wrong. And I love that. I love Steve Smith. He's one of my favorite receivers of all time. So now it's great to see a guy kind of take that mantle in Keenan Allen, who's all he's done is pretty much produce. And then Gary, I'll go with this. Are we still kind of splitting up those with Jackson and Kelly? I would probably put Jackson over Kelly just based on getting that passing work. But I mean, is Kelly still even a flex option?
Yeah, I think Kelly's still a flex option. In this matchup, I'm a little trepidatious because the Denver pass defense, rush defense has been so good. I like the fact that Jackson just has a better understanding, but I do think that when it comes to goal line rushes, you're going to end up seeing Jackson. They want to get him in there. I just have to add, Justin Herbert is the upside of 2020. He's probably the only upside of 2020. He is just he's been so,
not saying a lot.
Dude, he's just been so awesome. He literally has been the most fun quarterback to watch all season.
Justin Herbert has brought this country together.
He has been more fun to watch.
This together,
and he hasn't always
what the
won.
fuck are you looking at?
I'm sorry, I'm in North Dakota. There's COVID everywhere I look. So I mean,
I wanted to say he's the best thing to happen in 2020 since, and we'll give him the award on November 2nd. But I didn't want to go there. So, I'm going to go with Jackson, and I do think that Kelly is still a flex. He's lost some of his luster, but if you have Kelly or Jackson and you can get someone to bite, and you happen to have Eckler, like trade him off. Eckler's going to be coming back. It's going to take a couple weeks, but he will be coming back.
Yeah, and it's not like you did anything other than Eckler than put him on your IR at that point. And it was worth always to kind of stash because we know when he comes back, he's going to take over this whole role, and these other guys kind of go back into being irrelevant except for maybe some red zone work and maybe a couple rushes here and there, but nothing outside of 12 touches probably combined.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if we're going over to the other side here with Denver, I mean, they're getting some production out of their tight ends with Noah Fant and Albert Okuigbunam, I think is the actual pronunciation.
God, that is way better than I could ever do.
I'm not gonna try to spell it. I'm gonna save that for the spelling bee later on.
Yeah, the only time I've ever heard it done is with either Benjamin Albright or Cody Rourke, because they're both with Denver and all the stuff in the KOA with Ben. Like that's the only time I've ever heard them pronunciate those words before, and I won't even give it a shot.
I just tried to spell their last names, realizing you were referencing people and not people that were difficult to spell their last names.
Albert O. That's where I ended at.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I knew how to say it was because Pete Overzet did an episode of Fantasy Mensa with Denny Carter, and I think they had a spelling bee on there, and that was one of the names was Albert Akui Boonham. So, so I mean, we've got weapons there. You know, Tim Patrick has been really good as kind of the low rent Cortland Sutton, but everything kind of circles back to Drew Lock. The don't give a fuck Drew Lock with
imagine this team with a good quarterback.
I think Drew Lock is a good quarterback. I think he can be a good quarterback.
Yeah, I absolutely do too. I think those pieces can be flex plays. I think Alberto certainly on the low end, but he's starting to get involved in the offense. Noah Fant is a top 8 tight end, I would say. Yep. Tim Patrick is a low end wide receiver 3 flex play. Mm-hmm. But the real question I have involves that running game. So we haven't really seen any of Gordon or Lindsey really step up. We did see a 100-yard game out of Lindsey, but Gordon really hasn't done much either. Going up against that Chargers front, kind of separate that out for us, Tommy, regarding that run game.
This week, I mean, you still have Philip Lindsay who's in concussion protocol, and he has not been cleared yet. So with him out of the way, like I feel like Melvin Gordon, even if it is a tough matchup, he's still going to get the volume. You're looking probably like around 20 total touches for Melvin Gordon. He's going to be a fairly solid RB2 this week, even though it is, like I said, a difficult matchup. It's just when you don't have to share the ball with anyone else other than Royce Freeman, I feel pretty solid about that.
How did you say all of that without saying the R word? Revenge game.
Because I avoid that, because every time I see that, I have to take a drink, basically. It's just...
No, but this is like a real one. Like, there are fake revenge games, and there's real revenge. There's Le'Veon Bell versus the Jets. That's a real revenge game. And Melvin Gordon versus them. Like, people that refuse to pay and or get cut, then play in their first game, that makes a difference. I agree with Bo. I've never been a Melvin Gordon fan. He's about to tear shit up this week. Yeah.
If we're going to talk about revenge games, there's one that's coming up here, a little bit of a sneaky revenge game, and that's if he even plays. Seattle and the 49ers in Seattle. If Carlos Hyde plays, that could certainly be a nice volume opportunity.
Not a revenge game. By the definitions we just set out, that's not a revenge game.
God, Gary.
The dude has played for 3 other teams.
So can we say this every single league, like when Ryan Fitzpatrick was a starting quarterback? Because he's basically a revenge game against all other 31 teams in the NFL.
Yes.
That's why I specifically just clarified there's real revenge games, and then there's like, hey, Josh McCown's played for the league, and so is Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I am going to look up the most obscure revenge games, and I'm going to point them out every damn week for you, Gary. It's my mission.
But those are like those have nothing to do with anything. Like, but real revenge games when you're going up against a team that genuinely effed you over, like those make a difference, and those actually make players want to do something and show you and give you the middle finger. Very Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas.
I'm just doing this to get the reaction out of Gary. That's all I'm doing, because I know we're good.
If Hyde plays, then Hyde will be solid.
I have to start Hyde.
There's no one else. My thing is like there's no one else in that backfield is really healthy. You've got Chris Carson hurt. You've got Carlos Hyde that's banged up. Travis Homer is hurt. The only one that's actually healthy is DJ Dallas, and because that's a guy who I would stash if you're in a deeper league. Go pick up DJ Dallas before this week, because there's a very good chance he might be the only healthy running back on Seattle, and he's everyone else is going out and getting Carlos Hyde.
1 week starter. I mean, he's not.
No, it's nothing but 1 week. Absolutely.
Yep. 100%. And then obviously with Seattle, you're starting all your studs. I mean, that goes without saying. On to the other side there, San Francisco. I mean, I did put this in here. I am contractually obligated to stay 50 feet away from this backfield. I have a no contact order. Good luck. Even with Gary as the 49ers fan, I don't think Gary couldn't even do this. Right, with his backfield?
No, I'm starting Hasty. I'm starting McKinnon. Like, if Coleman plays,
you feel you feel good about
if
that?
Coleman plays, I'm confused and I'm not sure what to do. But I really try to step away from my homers, and when I say this, Kyle Shanahan is the number 1 or number 2 offensive coordinator in the NFL.
Okay, yeah. What about Tevin Coleman? if he comes
No,
back.
so I'm saying, so if he plays,
Even
that
if
muddies
Tevin
the
Coleman
water.
comes
But if
back,
he
do we
doesn't
feel-
play, the other guys get worked in, and Debo's not there to work into the passing game. We no longer have who we had last week against against Stephon Gilmore and against the Patriots. And so Kittle's going to be the number one, probably tight end. And we're probably going to have Ayuk putting up a top 20-ish game. Maybe Bourne gets something. And outside of them, Hasty is going to get his run, and they know how to scheme up these runs. And it's just a matter of, is McKinnon going to get more touches than Hasty, such that Hasty is nothing? The difficulty for me is that I don't know if the Niners can stop Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson, to me right now, is the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to hear an argument out of me right now. I mean, the fact that the guy has never had an MVP vote before this year is still something that just absolutely baffles in my mind.
Yeah,
But
before
I think
this
that stuff
year,
plays
he
into
will.
shit. Like, I genuinely think that plays into stuff. Maybe not in like week 8, but I think it plays in come week 12.
yeah,
I
I mean, as far as the 49ers go, like, I would have no problem starting either Hasty or McKinnon, especially this week. Because even if Tevin Coleman does come back, do we expect them to really give Tevin Coleman the majority of the touches he normally would see? No, they're going to bring him back early, because right now they have nothing really to play for at that point by having him come back in, and then that turn getting hurt at that point.
Either
So
they're
for me,
blown out or they're blowing out, at which point that's Hasty. And
Yeah.
they have to be somewhere in the middle, at which point there's going to be Hasty or McKinnon. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and they
completely
like
agree.
Hasty, even as an undrafted free agent coming out of Baylor.
He's
Hasty
explosive.
looked good because he won that battle against Salvin Ahmed, even though he ended up giving
Yeah.
Ahmed at one point a contract before the season even started. They like Hasty. The guy looks pretty damn good. He's got really good lateral agility. Looks good when he finally gets through the hole. He can make a guy miss, solid with his hips. I like Hasty moving forward on this team, even though at some point they are going to get fully healthy, and it goes back to being this whole, committee approach, this whole hot hand that Garrett, as well as anyone being a 49ers fan. But you've got to like them for at least 1 week. You might only have a 2 running back approach.
Sure.
And then like you're talking about with Brandon Ayuk, with Deebo Samuel out, it just sucks to have a guy come back and then get re-injured. That you hate seeing that, especially for someone like Deebo Samuel. I just love watching him play because he just runs pissed off. He invites contact and just runs into guys.
I will pay up for Kittle, and I will happily pay down for Ayuk this week.
Yes.
Ayuk looks fantastic.
Yep. I think we can all agree he's pretty much a set in this week. Wide receiver 2, at least.
I think one of the things too with Ayuk was he's coming from a guy who he learned how to be a pro while he was at college, because Herm Edwards was his coach at Arizona State.
Yep.
The guy knows how to be a professional before he ever even stepped into this league.
Totally.
Play to win the game.
So.
Yeah, let's go over to the New Orleans Saints at Chicago Bears. So we're looking at the Saints here. I mean, Michael Thomas, coin flip. I mean, I don't think he's trending toward playing even this week. No. I mean, so right now we're looking at, all that cast of characters with, Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway. Kind of decipher this, Gary, a little bit with Callaway. Is that a guy that you're maybe throwing into flex option, or are you throwing Traquan Smith in there? I mean, I know Breeze hasn't been great, and this isn't a cake matchup at all. But are you throwing somebody in there, as far as those pass catchers?
Last week they played the Panthers, if I'm not mistaken. And so this week
it was a revenge game for Bridgewater.
Love it. I pretty much going to go with Kamara. I'm going to go with Torrey Smith.
The low-hanging fruit?
No. Hold on. Let me see what I'm saying. I'm going to go with Kamara, and I'm going to go with Torrey Smith if Sanders and Thomas are out. And I will go with Cook. Traquan Smith. Sorry, thank you.
You can play Torrey Smith. I just don't know how much you're going to get out of
him. No, we could. We were talking about the Panthers. I got confused. I'm not going to play any of the other guys. Like, we're not playing. They're not playing the Panthers. They are playing the Chicago Bears. I have no interest in these ancillary pieces. Honestly, I'm only playing Kamara in this matchup. I don't really care about the others. You can take deep shots in your GPPs if you need to, but I don't see the upside. Chicago is a legit team, just regardless of what the Rams just did.
Yeah,
counter that point. I don't mind.
They're smoke and mirrors. The Bears can't survive with that offense. Like, they can't.
Yeah, that's fine. But their defense can.
Yeah, I mean the Bears' defense, what they've given up, like only I think 2 receiving touchdowns to wide receivers. So you're not going to get the upside as far as the scoring goes. It's Kamara. You might play Jared Cook in this matchup.
Yeah.
And then the one upside with Marquez Callaway is going to be those 10 targets he saw last week. But I don't feel good about it. And but the thing is, he's probably going to match up against someone like a Kyle Fuller, most likely this week. And I don't expect him to win that matchup, even though Callaway did look good, coming out of Tennessee. He looked good last week. Kamara and Brees have both praised him. I think Kamara kind of has, because they have that Tennessee Volunteer DNA. They both went to college at the same place. It's Alvin Kamara. And I mean, even Drew Brees, like, you're not starting Drew Brees, because we've kind of seen how much he's been propped up by Michael Thomas. Like, one of my things, like, would anyone be surprised if the Saints shopped off Michael Thomas with the upcoming trade deadline? Given what's been said, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Because we expect Brees to retire. If it was like, hey, I'm retiring at the end of the season, he's already told them, then they're going to get a king's ransom. I don't know a team in the NFL who would not say, let's go get Michael Thomas.
Absolutely.
I genuinely don't.
Yep. I completely agree. And so it's almost like, okay, he hasn't been playing. He's been, we were saying that he's hurt. Has he actually been hurt? Because we don't want to trade away a guy that's actually injured. We let this guy get rested up. All of a sudden we trade him away. We know the deadline's approaching. It would not surprise me to see all this and see if that happen, knowing that they're going to be rebuilding, because this is not the Saints division to win anymore. Next year, it might be the Panthers division to win.
Bucks, but yeah.
And
2 years Panthers, next year Bucks.
I think, they're going to be competing. It's either going to be whoever's going to win the division and then who gets a wild card in that spot.
It's about whether or not Brady is still in the league.
That's what it comes down to. If Brady's in the league, then no one's touching the Buccaneers with that defense and the wide receiver core they have. But if you're looking at a team that's trending up in the right direction a little sooner than we thought, Carolina is the one putting the Saints at number 3 right now, just because the Falcons don't have a head coach.
Jameis Winston throwing to Michael Thomas. Oh my God, Michael Thomas would be throwing shit on the sideline.
Oh, he'd lose it.
So frustrated. Yeah,
he'd lose it.
Give him Trey Smith. Give him like Callaway. Give him Harris. All these other guys but don't give him Michael Thomas.
Sorry. So no, it's all good. I mean, when Trey Lance gets drafted by the Bucks, I think they're going to be there for a while. So, let's go over to Chicago. And by the way, this is a Ted Ginn revenge game too. Gary is just all right. So we know Allen Robinson's going to have a tough matchup with Marshawn Lattimore. Tommy, what do you think about Darnell Mooney? This is a guy that he's always shown up in the air yards rankings. He's a guy that I think if he had a competent quarterback, I mean, certainly someone more competent than Nick Foles, even by not much. If he had a little more competency throwing the ball to him, I think Darnell Mooney could certainly be in the conversation of, sneaky plays. And in those, rookie wide receiver rankings, if we're talking about guys like T. Higgins and guys like that, I think he could absolutely be up there. But just the quality of quarterback throwing the ball to him, clearly he's not, being able to capitalize on that. What do you think about Mooney?
Yeah, I like Mooney. I mean, it's a guy who's seen at least 5 targets since week 3 all the way up until last week. So we know he's getting the looks, and they've just missed on some throws. Like, it doesn't show up in the box score, but there's been several times where Nick Foles has just missed Mooney for what could be a big play. He's been the wide receiver too, which is kind of surprising because we all kind of thought Anthony Miller was kind of, I know for me personally, I thought Anthony Miller was kind of a sneaky under the radar, a guy you could get on your bench who's going to give you some great depth at a really solid value when it was draft day. That hasn't happened at all. And yeah, Nick Foles and Mooney, like, when that connection happens and we've kind of seen it getting better and better. Like, if he's going to get targets, you kind of have to pay attention to him. I could see Mooney kind of being, that wide receiver 4 flex range if you want to play him, just because he's going to get some volume. Is just outside of, Allen Robinson, it's really hard to trust any Chicago Bears player.
Yeah, I think you can trust Jimmy Graham a little bit. I think him and,
for the red zone targets alone, especially.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you're looking at, at that tight end 12 fringe, all you're really looking for is a guy that can get in the end zone. He's probably got the most upside of those guys, at least getting into the end zone every week. But, as far as that goes, I mean, David Montgomery is pretty much running the show in that backfield. So now that obviously Tariq Cohen's out, he's just a volume-based RB2 at this point, even in a tough match.
I think he's better than people think, though. Like, it's just the offensive line, the head coaching. Like, I think Montgomery can be a solid play. It's just they've got to get some more talent around him and someone other than Matt Nagy calling the plays.
Right. Gary, I see you have your hand raised.
So can we never refer to Darnell, whatever, Mooney in the same sentence as T. Higgins moving forward? I would appreciate it.
Wow. You gonna slander the guy like that? At least get his name.
Bro, you just were like, yeah, is Mooney just on the same, we have some good rookies.
If he had a competent
T.
quarterback
Higgins.
throwing the ball to him.
I'm still taking T. Higgins over the top. Like, T. Higgins would have been a first-round pick if he wouldn't ran any better at his pro day.
Thank you.
Like, that's all that held him back. Even though he wasn't even the best wide receiver at his own college. That was Justin Ross.
Yep. Anyway, let's go to the Sunday Night Football game. The Dallas.
Yes. Somebody fucking dropped Deontay Johnson in my big money league, and I just got him in waivers. My waivers run Wednesday at
You just got Deontay
Pacific.
Johnson?
Huh?
Yes. What? I am holy shit. Sorry.
Who did he drop him for?
He dropped him like randomly last week, and
not
a joke. I didn't feel comfortable dropping anybody in my wide receivers to get him, and I was like, whatever. Somebody already picked him up, and today I was like, wait, nobody picked him up. Like what? Like I just didn't have room to pick him up. It's just like a weird league with keepers and stuff. So anyway, we can move on, but.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought you were really you were all gung ho on the Dallas Cowboys offense with Ben DiNucci possibly getting the start this week.
I don't even know how this just happened.
It's insane. Even the guy that dropped him, I was just like, why did he just drop him? And how did he? Literally, it's on me that he went unpicked, didn't get picked up last week. Like that's how weird it was. I don't know why. And then here he is, and I was able to get him. So anyway,
same damn reaction as you did. I've been running through my shirt off.
I'm podcasting with my nemesis and Kevin, so it's difficult.
Oh boy.
So
yeah, it doesn't even matter who's a quarterback. I mean, right now with Dallas, I mean, Ben DiNucci, Andy Dalton, Chad Hutchinson, Quincy Carter. It doesn't matter at this point. Because right now this Dallas,
give me Kellen Moore. Give me the offensive.
Yeah, he's probably the best quarterback right now on that team. Hell, Doug Peterson might be a better quarterback than those two. On the other side, it's terrible. So when you're looking at the Dallas offense, this was obviously Dak could support Cooper, Lamb, and I mean it really wasn't supporting Gallup, but at least Dalton Schultz was viable. Now it's Cooper, maybe Lamb. I mean, I dropped Michael Gallup in a bunch of leagues. I mean,
man, I was wrong about Michael Gallup. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's a 6th round pick that I probably had the most exposure to was Michael Gallup, and I thought he was just Amari Cooper 3 rounds later as far as target share, as far as upside. I mean, could not be.
Amari Cooper finally being consistent. Like, who would have saw
2020? 20. But yeah, I think even Dalton Schultz is a guy who can drop too. But what do you think, Tommy?
I don't think I would drop Dalton Schultz just because it's so hard to find productive tight ends. And this is a guy who we've actually seen be productive. Like he's got a chance to, like I said, kind of maybe find the end zone, but it's like I would not start him. I might stash him on the bench if you have a deep enough bench to absorb having 2 tight ends. It's just everyone on this team has just taken such a massive downgrade, and that's including Ezekiel Elliott. Although I think they might be getting Zach Martin back.
Yeah, I saw that too. I think it's.
So I mean that should help.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a tough situation in Dallas.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I mean, I think this is a great spot for Carson Wentz. His pass catchers are, with Fulgham, Greg Ward, Richard Rodgers, the ghost of Richard Rodgers is back.
Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, and Jalen Reagor off of IR. I mean, is he going to play this week? I didn't see anything. I just know I think
Reagor's actually going to play this week. He practiced today.
That's awesome. I mean, if they get him back, I mean, Fulgham and Reagor, I mean, now the Philadelphia could, it all hinges on Carson Wentz, but Gary, I mean, Carson Wentz, is he a top 12 quarterback this week against Dallas?
Hell yeah. Definitely. I have no qualms about that. He's about to get Alshon. He's about to get Reagor. I know we're talking about 1 week, but he's shown up, and they're going against the worst defense. Literally, I think historically the worst defense. They're on pace to blow records. Hell yeah. And it's not even if it's just how bad the the defense is. It's also the coaching. It's the revolt. It's everything. They're so much worse than the Browns were last year relative to who we thought that they were going to be Super Bowl contenders and that stuff. I get that it was Dak Dak getting injured and whatnot, but yeah.
We talk about the Jets being the worst team in the NFL. Are the Dallas Cowboys the worst team? Because at least with the Jets, we have no prior expectation because they don't have talent. This team actually has talent, but it is just so poorly coached. And you have this whole revolt going in the locker room, like guys using anonymous sources and all that kind of stuff to be able to get their message out. Like, hey, be a man and come up to them. Like the rants that have been on ESPN have been some of the best content they've put out in fucking years, if you ask me.
The Jets are the worst team of the NFL. They are the worst top to bottom.
The Cowboys are making a case for it right now.
Cowboys,
but at least they're doing it with no talent.
Worst team, but they have the players are insane.
Is it to be a bad team but so severely underperforming, or is it worse to be a team that has no talent but at least you're doing what's expected?
No, wait. We're talking about two different things. It is so much worse to be the Cowboys than it is the Jets right now, and the Jets should have the number 1 overall pick no matter what.
Yeah.
But it is so much worse to be the Cowboys. But the Jets will get the first overall pick.
No, the Jets are the worst team, but if you're looking at two teams, the way they're playing, given the roster construction that they have, the Dallas Cowboys should be nowhere near even in this conversation.
Yeah, agreed.
But they're playing like the team that is honestly the worst team in the NFL.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you're in a division with the Washington football team and the Giants, and there's an actual question whether are they actually are the Giants the worst team? No, I would say Dallas would be, they're definitely in that conversation. It's just almost a travesty. And
Mike McCarthy was one of the favorites to win Coach of the Year this year because all he had to do was get Dallas into the playoffs and maybe win a couple games because they haven't done that since '96, since they actually won an actual playoff game. That wasn't a wild card. So you're looking at a team that had all this upside and all this talent on this roster, and in a division that might be 5 wins to get you into the freaking playoffs at this point.
Yeah,
and that's not going to be enough for Dallas.
Yeah. It's nuts. I mean, I'm as we are talking right now, I'm actively trying to figure out, do I want to drop CeeDee Lamb? It's 2 keepers in a league, so no,
not a chance.
Let's go with this. Sorry, everybody that's listening. I already have Chark, Fuller, Hill, DJ Moore, now Deontay Johnson. CeeDee Lamb is my 6th best wide receiver. I have Connor, Henry, and Mixon, and I have Andrews and Kelsey. Yeah, I get that, but like, is CeeDee Lamb doing anything rest of season? CeeDee Lamb next year. We're not talking about CeeDee Lamb next year. We're talking about CeeDee Lamb this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, package him up with one of those receivers or something. I don't know. You could upgrade somewhere with those receivers. Package 2 of them together for. I mean, you could probably get Camaro with the firepower you have. I don't know. Anyway,
that bridge in a sec. Anyway, so moving on.
Yeah, so let's go over to Monday Night Football. Tampa at the Giants, which I'm sorry, this is going to be a damn bloodbath.
This won't be good.
I can't believe the Giants. They're going to crush them.
It's Antonio Brown Eve for the Buccaneers. So right now we're looking at Evans. Godwin. He broke his break his thumb? Was it? And he's out for
broken thumb for Chris Godwin.
Yeah, which is just he's Mr. Glass at this point. But Rob Gronkowski, I mean, he's back to being an every week start. But God, it's Bruce. When you think Ronald Jones is going to be just a solid RB2, high end RB2, and he had 300-yard games in a row. Leonard Fournette comes back, and now we have to ask these damn questions again with Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, and who's going to be, screwed this week by Bruce Arians and usage. Are you even trying to decipher this running game, Tommy?
I'm playing Ronald Jones. I'll play him as that, or as an RB2. I try to stay away from Leonard Fournette, but I mean, just on the volume and just at least he's been doing it for more consistently. Granted, it might absolutely blow up in your face, but he's the only one that I would have any relative confidence in this backfield.
Yeah, I mean that's a guy I played Rojo and DFS, and I think he got a late touchdown, but that was pretty much the only thing that saved anything. I mean that was really just frustrating to watch, certainly. But Gary, on the Giants side, who? Anybody?
Shepard.
Yep.
I'm not even I don't think twice about it. It's Shepard, and then beyond Shepard in this matchup, then Slayton is the second, but Shepard showed up. He played well, and he was coming off an injury. I have no qualms about playing Shepard as their wide receiver one. I don't care that Daniel Jones isn't a great fantasy quarterback. I care that he is the 2020 Jameis Winston, and those people put up points.
What will be a higher number? The amount of fumbles that Daniel Jones loses or touchdowns he throws in this game? Not just fumbles lost.
Again, I'm not advocating for starting Daniel Jones here, just to be crystal clear.
No, I'm not touching Daniel Jones with a 50-foot pole.
I don't know. It's 2.0 for both.
The fact that I have to think about that says enough.
Yeah. But also, like, Daniel Jones has the highest yards per carry of any runner to have over 75 carries in the history of the NFL.
The stadium shoots him in the foot and he falls down.
So, yeah, I mean, the dude's
got
the same
guy that got Randy Hechavarria the other day. It's the same thing.
We've looked at all of the games on this slate. Isn't this like the one game where you're like, oh yeah, Daniel Jones won that game? Like, he shouldn't have by any means, but like that's the game where you're like, oh my god, either Daniel Jones loses by 30 or somehow wins by like 10.
Yeah, this is like one of those mind fuck games where how the hell did that happen?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we got to every game. Tommy, again, thank you for coming on with us. Appreciate having you and getting to rap with you. Tell us, like I said, if you weren't listening in the beginning, where we can find all of your work, my friend.
Yay. Over on Twitter at Tommy Garrett PFN, fantasy writer for Pro Football Network. You can find all my articles over there. Friday nights at 7 or 7:30, depending on our schedule. That'll be Moneyline and Wine. The show will be available on YouTube. It's on Twitter. It's on Twitch, Periscope, wherever you guys want to find your stuff at. That is with Chris Smith, Jessica Gonzalez, and ESPN's Anita Marks, who actually her show tomorrow she'll have on Stefania Bell. So that'll be a good one for everyone to check out.
Yeah.
I think she had on Mike Clay the week. No, she had on Armando Salguero the week before that, and then it was Mike Clay. So she's used her context pretty well on that one. Somehow I get wrangled up on a show with her. And then over on the we have our podcast that happens 3 times a week too. So pretty much I'm always kind of everywhere on that website anymore.
Yeah, you can't sneeze without finding at least something you wrote on there. I was on there today for a bit checking some stuff out, and yeah, you're all over the map, man. So certainly appreciate you taking some time and coming on with us here. Gary, you got anything else?
No, man. I honestly,
you're on a Zima
coming on now. Yeah, yes. I just appreciate you. It's awesome talking with you, man. Honestly, you're one of the better dudes on Twitter. It's fantastic talking with you.
It was good. It's been a long time coming. So, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
It's just the schedules, and then we had the issues like last time. It's one it's been in the works for a long time, so it's kind of good to finally get it out and finally get together and talk with you guys and all that stuff.
For sure.
Yeah. Absolutely, my man. So again, for those of you still watching, certainly thank you for bearing with us here for the last hour and a half and change here. So check us out on Sunday for Fighting Chance Kickoff. Myself and Gary will go through all of the slate again, and then we will also go through your start and sit questions and actives, all that good stuff at 10 Central. So before your Week 8 matchups, hop on with us on Twitter at KTompkinsII, at GaryHada1, and if you have questions, send them on over. We'll answer them on air. And for myself and Tommy, and Gary, have a great night, everybody.
Go Niners, go Steelers.